You never know what you're gonna find at a Goodwill. I know what you're thinking. You're like, oh man, this is a vinyl finds video. He'll have a Led Zeppelin 2 pressing, the hot pressing, $500. He's gonna brag about all this stuff he got. No. But I did find some cool stuff. A lot of stuff that I hadn't heard before. And that's one of the things I really like about looking in the used crates of a Goodwill. You find weird stuff. Stuff you probably haven't heard of. The best part is most of them are $2. To take a chance on something you haven't heard before, it's a lot easier. Anyway, let me talk about the music. Found this. 9.9 is the name of this band. The reason they are 9.9 is because they wish they were a perfect 10, but they're not yet. You think I'm joking, but I'm not. On the back of this LP, we have a note from Dimples, who is the producer of this novel. What was this? This is a novel now. I'm gonna read it. Ooh. Let me try again. And I'm going to read this note to you here. Ladies and gentlemen, I proudly introduce 3 ladies I love. They're Boston's own Margot Thunder, Wanda Perry, and Leslie Jones. Presently, they're not a perfect 10, but we're working on it. In the meantime, we'll settle for 9.9. This group, they all went to school together. They were in music class together. They were friends. They formed this band. They ended up being backup singers for a boxer. I didn't know boxers had backup singers, by the way. That's new to me. They formed this band. They go and they produce this album, and I'll be honest with you, it's pretty hot. It's pretty good. The single "All of Me for All of You" is the one that hit the charts back in 1985. This come out. Hold on. I check. I'm gonna tell you the truth here. Hold on. Nothing but the truth here on Bill's channel. This one came out in 1985, and that's when this hit the charts. "All of Me for All of You." You know, that was like the big one-hit wonder for the band. For my research, I found that R&B is kind of singles-based. It seems that bands that if they didn't have enough good singles, they kind of just died in the wake. And unfortunately, this band here, they produced this one album. After a couple of years, they had a lot of issues with rights. You know, the band was arguing, and they kind of broke up, but they weren't making enough money anyway. So because this album didn't get a lot of attention, it kind of died by the wayside. And here's what I mean by that. You can't find this album on streaming services. Up until 2015, you couldn't find it on CD. So the only way you could listen to this album was this or cassette. Well, I've never heard of this band. Why does it matter? Because you still can't hear it streaming, really. You can't go on Spotify and hear this. That's one of the reasons why it's kind of nice to be able to collect stuff like vinyl, because you have the ability to actually listen to this. How many albums do you think are lost to the sands of time because they never get a re-release, they never get a CD, they never get on streaming, and you never hear them? With this one, it's just good R&B. Soul, Motown-y, 80s dance music. Sometimes it's good to dig through the stacks, pick something out you haven't heard before, because you never know. You might be picking up something that you really can't hear anywhere else. If you ever see it, I think it's like $2 on Discogs. It was at Goodwill as well, so just a heads up. Also found this. This one came out in 1979. This is Gamma 1, debut album by Gamma. These goofballs here on the back. I don't know if you've heard of these guys. I haven't heard of them. They are a band that was around in the late 70s, early 80s. That never got enough attention with Elektra, their record company. They had one hit single on Gamma 3, which is not this album, right the first time. This album essentially sounds like a Phil Collins Genesis, I would say, styled Abacab. I also thought of Styx and this really strong synth on a lot of the tracks. On the B side of this album, or side 2, I thought of Foreigner. Really heavy reverb on the guitar, strong synth-based tone. If you're looking for like the missing link between all those bands, this is it. I enjoyed this one. Not my favorite thing I listened to, but definitely something that is fun if you're looking for something a little bit more hard rock 80s, something different that you might not have heard before. Now we got the one where you may have heard of it before. This is the one where like everybody's like, oh, yeah, I know that one. Goodwill priced this one at about $15. This certain section in the Goodwill store, not all of these Goodwill stores have this, but this one had it. Handpicked by Goodwill, which I thought was really funny because in this same aisle of Handpicked by Goodwill, they had like an Aldi's sweaters, like they were selling for like more than Aldi's sold them for, or like equipment that you could buy at Walmart that they resold for more than Walmart sold them for. So it's not like whatever they were choosing was all good handpicked stuff. But when we go to the records, they had a couple of cool records there. I was crying because they had Elvis Costello, My Aim Is True there, but I opened it up, and again, they charged $15 for this, and as I opened it up, I saw, and this is why you need to check the vinyl, both sides, look at it, because they had a nice big scratch down the middle. Anyway, I did find this though, Rush's Hemispheres. This one came out in 1978. I really liked this album, and I was very excited to see it. It is a gatefold with lyrics in there, and also the pictures of the band looking like they came out of a gothic castle. Look at them, they're like, wah. I don't know why I'm making that sound, but I think it's important. I'm gonna do it again. Ah! If that's a make or break for you on this channel, then I think it's important for you to know that like this is just what you get here. That's the front. It's this dude like naked, like staring at this other dude who's like looks like a guy from Son of Man, I think. He's got the apple in front of his face. That's what we got here. They're both staring at each other. They're both different sides of the brain, the right brain and the left brain fighting. That's what the whole epic on side 1 of the album is about, called Cygnus X1 Book 2. Does that not sound like the nerdiest thing ever? Well, we're listening to Rush, a prog rock / metal band, depending on who you ask. They are exceptionally nerdy. I mean, they write songs about space operas, but they do it very seriously, which is my favorite part. First side, like I said, is Cygnus X1 Book 2. You might be wondering where Book 1 is. Book 1 is on Farewell to Kings, their previous album. This is the sequel, and the sequel concerns itself with Greek mythology, Apollo and Dionysus, duking it out about whether the left brain or the right brain is better. Then Cygnus, our hero, comes in and says, no, it is the melding of heart and brain together, the two hemispheres of the brain that bring our soul into perfect balance. I guess that's the idea. All I know is that for a song, it's a cool prog epic. Yeah, I mean, it's what you expect from a Rush album. It's got great melodies, great drums, awesome guitar solos. Like, this is the same type of stuff you would expect off of earlier Rush. 2112, if you like that album, you'd love this one. I really love side 2. There's a track called The Trees about how there's war going on between the maples and the oaks because they're having an argument about where they stand in the forest. One of the lyrics I really like, I'm gonna read it to you. The oaks don't know why the maples can't be happy in their shade. The whole track is just very funny and interesting and different, and I like that. I like a song with a perspective from trees. The last track, La Villa Strangiato, there, I butchered that. Let me try again. La Via Strangiato. I butcher that again, but I'm gonna try one more time. La Via Strangiato. Bad, but that's okay. This is a track that's all instrumental. It's actually their first instrumental track on any album. Neil Peart called this song an exercise in self-indulgence. I don't know if that's inaccurate, but I think it was still fun to listen to. It's definitely not the highlight of the album. I think that's The Trees, and I think that's side 1, to be frank with you. If you want to listen to this album, this is definitely top tier Rush in my opinion. In great condition, definitely cheaper than I probably could find in a record store or on Discogs, and I like the album. It didn't come with a poster. Originally, this came with a poster. I wish I knew what that looked like. I'm sure it was very cool, but I really don't care because this album has always been one of my favorites. I'm happy to have it. Not every album you find at Goodwill that you buy randomly is always the best thing. This one just I had to pick up because it was weird looking. It's called John Hall Band, All the Above. This guy is flying up into the rafters somehow for no reason. This guy looks like he's like, whoa, that's cool. Like I'm high on drugs. And this guy looks like he just is interested, but kind of just like, oh, wow, that happened. Then there's this guy that's just like standing in the corner. I'm not sure what he's up to. This album is 80s cheesy pop. I think it'd be great if you put it on in the background in an 80s dance party, but you'll definitely forget everything that played. John Hall, he had this other band called Orleans, and then he made his own like solo project band named after himself. And after neither of these like took off like immensely, he switched into a political career. And I found this out when I was looking through the Wikipedia, and I click on his name and he comes up and he's got this like suit on, he's in front of an American flag, and I'm like, and I realized, oh, he ran for New York State legislator and won, and that's what he does now. And yeah. Also in the back, there's a picture of strawberry milk, and it's like spilling everywhere. So love that picture there. I think that is something that I'll put up in my room someday. Not really. I don't know. It's just very 80s for some reason. It kind of weirds me out, but it's kind of cool at the same time. So it's okay. If I saw it, I probably wouldn't pick it up again, but I'm glad I heard it so I could know that it exists. Lastly, this is Return to Forever's Music Magic. I've heard Return to Forever before. They're the band with Chick Corea, Lenny White, Stanley Clarke, and Al Di Meola is the classic lineup. This one does not feature that. That features only Stanley Clarke and Chick Corea. You may be wondering, oh, what's this, the WWPV? If you see that there, that is a call sign for a radio station. WWPV is the call sign for St. Michael's College in Burlington, Vermont. They must have been getting rid of their vinyl collection. Maybe they were paring it down, or maybe they all switched to digital. Our radio station did that eventually. We switched all to digital. I think we kept our records though, but maybe they needed to pare down space because these things take up a lot of space. I feel like it probably got in the hands of some student and they decided they didn't want to keep it. So it ended up at Goodwill. So here we are. I love this little sticker here, the demonstration not for sale, so you can tell that that is exactly where it came from. It's featuring vocals from Chick Corea's wife, Gail Morin, who has a great sounding voice. She sounds good. I will say for me, I liked the title track Music Magic, probably one of the best ones on there. Side 2 is a little bit better than side 1, but that Music Magic track soundtrack really had what I like in a jazz fusion. I would say it's this one has more of a smooth jazz feel than Return to Forever's Romantic Warrior. I think that one is a little bit wild and maybe a little bit more inaccessible. This one I think is pretty smooth. You can put on the background. It almost has an orchestral vibe at times. You know, there's a lot of horns and it's got a big sound to it. So if you're into that kind of sound, I definitely think you might like it. Not my favorite Return to Forever album, but something that I'm glad that I picked up for $2 because it's not bad to say the least. It's pretty decent. What about you guys? What do you think about the finds I have? Have you listened to any of them? If anything, you probably listened to Rush's Hemispheres. If you're a Rush fan, I'd love to hear what your thoughts about Rush are, or even if you don't like them, why you don't like them. Any of that stuff there in the comments below, I always want to hear it. So please feel free, look down, write a thought, and put it out, and I will look at it. If you're a meanie person, I will not respond because I do not deal with meanie people. But if you're a person that wants to talk and engage in the music community, I'm definitely interested. I'm Bill Cooper, and as always, I love you all.